Hi, and welcome to Mellel 4.2. This release is all about tables. This feature was written from the ground up and includes a lot of new and exciting tools. In this video, I would like to focus on three things: new user interface options, new layout and display options, and table styles and templates. Let's start with the new user interface options. You'll meet them first at the beginning, that is, when you insert a table. Choose Insert, Table, or click the Table button on the toolbar to see the Insert Table sheet. In the Insert Table sheet, you can choose the table style and template and set the table size. We'll talk more about styles and templates later. For now, it is important to note that the styles and templates you see in this sheet come from the document's style set, and this means that you have control over what's displayed in this list. You can add, remove, or modify this list to suit your needs. The Insert Table sheet gives a preview of the style and template you choose, and also remembers your last choice, so you don't have to sift through the whole thing the next time you insert a table. When you click a table, it is selected as a whole. Now you can set its size by dragging a corner, which is a new feature. These buttons at the bottom are also new. One will delete the table, the other will open the Edit Table Attributes popover. Here you can change anything you want without opening the table palette. Let's change the color alternation to something nicer. And while at it, let's also add a header row. Click outside the popover to dismiss it. Size matters, right? Well, with Mellel 4.2 it does. You can now see and set the height and width of cells. First thing you'll notice is that when you drag a border, this handy measurement box appears, showing the size of the column in your measurement unit of choice. Second, if you double-click a border, this measurement box appears and stays on the screen and allows you to enter a value. By default, when you drag a column border, you are actually resizing two columns. As one column gets bigger, the other one gets smaller. That's good, but sometimes you may wish to resize only one column. To do that, you can press the Shift key while dragging. Pressing the Option key while dragging a column border will equalize the width of all columns. Pressing Shift when you double-click a border will allow you to resize that column alone numerically. Pressing Option when you double-click a border will allow you to set the size of all columns together. Now, let's get to the new layout and display features in Mellel 4.2. Headers come first. Click the stepper next to the header field to add a header to the table. Headers are the top one or more rows in a table. You can set the header's color, border, font size, and so on. Then there are footers, which appear at the bottom of a table. Leading columns and trailing columns are equally self-explanatory. The leading columns appear on the left, and the trailing columns sum it all up on the right. Headers can also repeat. Repeating headers are useful when you have a table spanning over multiple pages. Each page gets its own copy of the header. Another new feature in Mellel 4.2 is color alternation. Set the field to 1 to get an alternate row color with every other line. Set to 2 to get it every 2 lines, and so on. You can set the color by clicking the color wheel and choosing a different color. Color alternation affects only normal cells, that is, only cells that are not header or footer rows or the leading or trailing columns. Set the color alternation to 0 to turn off color alternation. The last layout feature I'll share with you is corner radius. Click the Options button to show the options popover and set the corner radius to something other than 0. Tables with rounded corners are very pleasing to the eye and are also much safer as they don't contain sharp corners which can cause injury. Last but certainly not least, table styles and templates. A table style defines how a table looks. You can use it as a starting point for a table or apply it to any table to alter its looks. To apply a style, select the table and then double-click the style's name in the Styles tab of the table palette. You can also use the menu of the Edit Table Attributes popover to do the same thing. To edit a style, click its name in the table palette and then click the Edit Style button. When editing a table style, you can choose the cell type from the pop-up menu, and then you can control how cells of this type look. For example, let's choose Header from the Type pop-up menu. Now we can modify the attributes for header cells. Let's change the background color to a lighter shade of the same color. Let's also change the font to italic. Click Save to save your changes. And here they are. The changes will be applied to any table using this style. Editing a table style via the Edit Table Style window gives you a very precise way to edit a table, but perhaps this may not be the most intuitive way. Luckily, there is another way to perform those edits. Let's take this plain table and make it a bit more fancy. Click the table and then click the Edit button to show the Edit Table Attributes popover. Using the border selector, let's deselect the inner borders and apply a 1-point thick outer border. Let's also set the corner radius to 4. Finally, let's also turn on color alternation. All the modifications we made so far are saved as overrides to this particular table, and the table style is not yet modified as indicated by the plus sign next to its name. To apply the changes to the style, press the Save Changes to Style button. As you can see, the changes were also applied to the other table that was using this style. Editing styles is easy, but what about templates? And what are they anyway? Templates are basically predefined tables that can be stored inside a style. All the templates in a style share the appearance defined for the style, but can vary in content, size, and configuration. Let's edit a style to see what this means. In the Edit Table Style window, we have a pop-up menu labeled Template. Currently, we're editing a template called Default, which defines a 4x4 table with no header or footer and no content. Let's add a template for a yearly comparison. Click the plus button to add a new template. Let's call it Yearly. Now, we'll add a header and a leading column, and make it more interesting by adding some values. Year, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994. Now let's save this. Click the Table button in the toolbar to insert a new table. Browsing the styles and templates, we can see our new template. Select it and click the Insert Table button, and a new table configured with a header and a leading column and containing these values in the header is added to the document. But of course, there's one more thing. Mellel 4.2 contains a powerful but easy to miss feature, formulas. Formulas allow you to perform simple calculations like summing or averaging columns and rows. It's very easy to use. Let's take this table and sum this column. We'll place the insertion point in the footer cell and choose Insert, Formula, Sum of Column. The column is summed at the bottom cell. Change one of the values in the column and the sum changes. Add a row and one more value, and the change is also reflected in the formula. You can also calculate the average of a column or a row, the standard deviation, the product, and even sum the sums of rows or columns. You can even add your own arbitrary calculations to a formula. For example, let's add VAT calculation to this receipt. In the subtotal row, insert the sum of column formula. This is indeed the sum. Now, in the VAT row, insert again sum of column. This is not so great, as the sum here also includes the sum in the row above. Let's change this. Double-click the formula. This is the formula's source code, so to speak. Now, instead of call_all, which sums all cells, including cells with formulas, we'll enter call_plain, which will only sum cells with a plain number, but ignore cells with a formula. Now this needs to be the calculation of VAT, so let's also add the multiply sign and type 0.19 for 19% VAT. Click Set, and the cell will now show the VAT. Now, let's also add a cell with the total including VAT. Copy the formula from the VAT row and paste it in the total row. Double-click the formula, and instead of 0.19, let's type 1.19. Click Set, and we're all set. So this was a little taste of Mellel 4.2, a new and wonderful version of Mellel.